I'm DaJuan Johnson, and I'm excited to introduce you to my Think Bigger Actor podcast, where I'm going to share with you different kinds of talks and coachings and conversations with actors and industry professionals on thinking bigger. I hope these conversations will help you on your path to success, because I believe success is an inside job that starts with your mindset and the thoughts you hold dominant in your mind. Change your thoughts and you change your world. Your path to thinking bigger begins now.
Kevin Johnson, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, man?
We could be related somewhere, right? Johnson.
I know,
Johnson.
Right?
I'm looking. Is that my brother? Good, man. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I am so excited to talk to you. We met on Twitter.
We did, yeah.
You know how to use social media, right? Like,
I've gotten better at it, yeah.
Yeah. Wait, do you not think you're that good at it?
I used to not be that good. I think I'm a lot better at it than I used to be, for sure.
Yeah. I see you on there. You're always like, happy birthday people, or, talking to people, reaching out, using your platform to say, good things and stuff. And so it feels like you got the hang of it.
Yeah. I feel like I'm getting there. Yeah.
No, I love to hear that. That's good, man. Well, I'm going to jump right in because I want to spend all of my time getting inside of your world, right? And just what you're thinking about that. And, I would love to hear your journey, not just as an actor, but, also getting to Sam Dermody, you know what I mean? Like, your journey there. But let's start first with, your actor pre-Ozark, what was your journey as an actor?
So before Ozark, I had been in like co-star roles, One Tree Hill, Finding Carter,
Ruthless.
Ruthless. Yeah. So it was nice little stepping stones. But yeah, I got into acting back in college, and just trying to get out of my shell, break out of my shell, because I'm kind of an introvert, which a lot of actors are. So I was like, well, this is a good way to find something new, fun to do, and just fell in love with it, man. It just, my dad was super thrilled. He was like, oh, that's great, but I'm not paying for you.
What, to do it in college?
Yeah. He's like, oh, you want to go to college and be an actor? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I kind of snuck and told my mom I was going to my parents, I was going to school. And I had a podcast episode at the beginning of this season with them, my parents, and you'll hear them talk about it. Yeah. I interviewed my parents, but one of the things that they would talk about was you were supposed to go to school to be a lawyer. So I kind of went to college under the guise of like, I'm going to be a lawyer. And then I snuck in and did theater. You know what I mean? So I like,
Mom, Dad, I can play a lawyer.
That's exactly what I said. Yeah. But I resonate strongly with that, Kevin, not paying for it. But would you say, I guess, that your auditions were all leading to Ozark in the sense that, like, great, I took each step that I knew was going to lead me to something better? Or were you like, anything that was coming your way, you're just taking kind of like thing?
Well, before Ozark, I was pretty much taking union, non-union, commercials, TV shows, films, co-star, guest star. Sometimes there would be a guest star audition, but those were rare. So I was just trying to build my resume, and that's
how it goes, right? It's kind of funny when I don't ask that question when people are always like, what attracted you to the role? I auditioned for it. That question we get sometimes when we're on like the news station, like, why did you take this role? It's not that work like that, You know what I mean? Like, why?
Jason Bateman called me up. He was like, hey, we got a really good role for you. We want to offer it to you. Right.
I think a lot of people think that's how it all comes down in the acting world. And we're like, no, I auditioned for it and I wanted it that way. And so, so getting Ozark, let's talk a little bit about that, like that path to getting Ozark. Tell me a little bit about, like, was it like an audition that came through, or was it like you answered an open call? I don't know how that even works. I know how auditioning works, but I want to know how that audition came for Ozark.
I got it from my Southeast agent that I still have. I had just moved to Atlanta from North Carolina because my girlfriend, she wanted to move, and I was like, well, I want to stay together. So I guess I'm moving with you. And I got the audition. We moved in 2015 and I got the audition in like mid 2016. I was doing my normal jog like I usually did in the morning and checking my phone like all actors do constantly just to see if you get an audition. And yeah, it popped up on my emails. New show, Ozark, executive producer, Jason Bateman, Bill Dubuque, one of the creators. And I had seen The Accountant, and I really liked that with Ben Affleck that he wrote. And it said, yeah, Sam Dermody, local real estate agent in the Ozarks, affable, has a dog, loves peanut butter, something like that. And I was like, okay, cool. And it said co-star at the time, co-star, possible recur. I think is what it said. And I knew when I saw the sides that it was at least 3 episodes because the audition had a couple of my scenes from my first episode that I was in, and then had a scene from the next episode.
Right.
So 2 episodes. I knew I was in 2 episodes actually, but I just had a feeling that this character could stick around. And when I did the audition, I've always been taught less is more kind of deal, because the camera is gonna, you don't have to push for the camera to pick it up because the camera can see into your soul basically.
Yeah.
So as long as you're being truthful and you're going after something, then the camera will pick that up. So I did the audition, felt really good about it. Found out a couple weeks later that they were going to go with somebody older, which always happens in the business. You never know until you know. And I was like, okay, well, not the first time. I'll get the next one. It's all good. Week goes by and I'm driving back to Charlotte for a callback for a short film. And my agent calls me and he's like, hey, they want to book you for Ozark. And I was just like, I thought they were going to go somebody older. And he goes, well, what can I tell you, man? They want you for the show. So I was super thrilled. It was the first time I'd ever gotten a role that was a recurring role, at least on like from the get-go, it was going to be recur. Maybe my naivete helped me out, but I wasn't even thinking guest star. Like I was like 7-8 years into the business and I really didn't know the difference because I wasn't getting a ton of guest star. I was, would always say co-star. So this was like the first recurring role on paper that I had gotten and didn't know the difference between co-star and guest star still. So I was just super excited that I booked it. And we do the table read, got to meet Jason, Laura, Julia, had fun, kind of got the jitters out of the way because, getting to meet Laura and Jason definitely was like, oh man. And Julia was awesome too, but she hadn't gotten big. Like now she's big, but got the jitters out of the way. And then I was working one night at the restaurant that I worked at, and my agent called me and he was telling me like the deal memo, like what it was going to be. And he was like, hey, so I got you bumped up to guest star over scale. And I was like, oh, cool. What's that? He's like, well, you're going to get a guest star billing and you're going to get more than scale. I was like, that sounds good to me. And but yeah, so I had no idea what the difference was until then. The first day on set, we filmed the scene.
All right, I'm gonna stop. There's so much good stuff there, and I want to take you back real quick. So this was an in-person audition.
Oh no,
you say
tape. It was a taped audition.
Right. Because Southeast, right? So that you guys were putting things on tape for that. Okay. I want to give that. That was awesome. And did you have to do a callback for this, or was it just that one tape?
No, I was booked off the tape. It was kind of weird. Yeah.
No. Or kind of great.
Or yeah. Less auditions, that you have to jump the hoops. Yeah, that's good for me.
Yeah. And one of the things that we've heard a lot on this podcast and before is a lot of our fellow actors in the Southeast region were doing self-tapes way before the pandemic. And we all had to really embrace and jump on self-tape. So, I mean, you've been doing them for a bit already. Booked Ozark. So that's definitely great. We'll come back to self-tapes in just a second. But, one other thing you said was when I read the breakdown, had a dog, affable, all those things, I do want to just jump in. Like, how do you, Kevin, how did you build that character? And just to piggyback, how did you build that character? And is that the same guy that we see Sam, through the progression of Ozark?
So since I kind of live by the mantra, less is more, tried to make it, what would Kevin do in this situation? Given the parameters of the character, it said he was a little, eccentric, but I was like, I think they want to see Kevin. I think they obviously wanted me to audition for a reason. So give them Kevin and see what they think. So I was really just myself in the audition. Like, how would Kevin react if somebody walked in while he was on the computer and there was this miscommunication of what was going on? It's like, no, that's not what I was doing. I was just, the dog was licking my toes, like how would Kevin react to a woman coming in thinking he was getting a blowjob when that's not what was happening?
Right.
So there wasn't really a lot of acting. And I think, I don't know, maybe that's what Jason really liked about it. If he was one of the, final says, because he's definitely, the way he creates his characters, like he loves to play the everyman and, natural. And it's just, like a dry sense of humor. And I didn't want to do too much with Sam. I wanted them to see Kevin and see if they would like to work with Kevin. So I didn't think about it too much. I know it sounds weird, but
no, it doesn't sound weird at all, man. I think one of the things that some characters we do have to go out and get, right? Like some people there, but there's always going to be an element of ourself that we're bringing to it, right? Like if we're in these, we are in these superhero worlds or spaces, or reacting to some of the monsters in Stranger Things or something, you know what I mean? In different spaces, we might have to go out and get a different character for sure, or bring pieces of it back to us. But sometimes when it's just a beautiful synergy, it's just like we get to respond to how would DaJuan respond to this? How would Kevin respond to this? And I think those are gifts in himself. Julia Roberts is Julia Roberts is Julia Roberts. We see her just under different circumstances, I believe. And that. So it doesn't sound weird at all. I think I was just wanted to hear, for all my actors and all my peeps, my artists out there, when they're auditioning and when they're reading stuff, how does this differ from me? And what is the likeness? And it sounds like you were looking at the likeness of, I can bring myself to this. But if they're saying this guy flies or something like that, Kevin doesn't fly. Wait, do you fly, Kevin? Do you? I was like, wait.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
All right. I love that. So then you are on the first day, right? I stopped you before you got here. You walking into this, you've already done a little bit of the table read. So you got some of those nerves out, right? And then you're walking in on your first day of acting, and Jason Bateman. I'm not sure of your first scene. I'll let you tell that, but I know your mother on the scene. She was also like this awesome giant too. Do you know what I mean? Like, just her force on the screen was great. And you two had a great synergy there. So tell us about that, your first day. You were just about to say walking on the set.
Yeah. So my first day, we were shooting episode 2 and Jason was directing it. So first scene, Laura is walking into the real estate office and sees me on the computer, thinking something else is going on. Dog, peanut butter on toes. That was my first intro into the Ozark universe. And I was just like, this is a lot of fun. And I think people are going to remember this scene however many seasons from now. This is going to be one of the scenes that they always remember, is this first scene of mine. And I just had a feeling about it.
Yeah.
It was fun, man. Jason was a great director. He definitely lets you play within the sandbox of the situation.
Right.
Totally open to improv, because, when it says in the script, he leans back in his chair and he's moaning or whatever, there's so much you can say there. And he was like, yeah, man, just have fun, riff away, do your thing and just have fun. Yeah, man, that first day on set was a blast. Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine you got a giant directing and you're acting with Laura Linney. You know what I mean?
Laura Linney. Yeah. Who's like a sweetheart.
Yeah.
So nice. So nice.
I bet. I met her, at a Emmy, party once, and she was so sweet. She was so
cool.
like just giving. I was like, "Can I get a picture?"
She's so nice.
Oh, it's good. So when you booked that, you said it said co-star possible recurring. And I think that is one of actors, I don't know if you know my story on it, but that is one of actors' dreams, right? To be upped and to keep going on and on and on, like when we get on that.
Oh, yeah.
So what was it for you on that first day or those days that you did your episodes? Were you thinking, I'm going to like plant a seed so Sam can come back? Did you do something different? Or were you just like, I'm going to show up and do this, and if it recurs, it recurs. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I mean, I just want to know a little bit about that.
So I had in my mind from the get-go, again, it might have been my naivete that just kind of helped, but reading the sides from the audition, I just felt like this guy could stick around. For one thing, in the audition, one of the scenes was where Laura shows up at my open house, and I basically hire her to help me run the real estate business. So I was like, well, she's the main character and she's going to be working at my real estate office. So clearly I'm going to be around. So that was a good sign. And when I met, I think it was like the second or third day on set, I was at Video Village and just sitting down, like watching playback. And Allison Feltz is one of our executive producers, was for season 1 and 2, one of the head writers. And she introduces herself and says, by the way, I'm writing a scene with you and your mom in episode 7. So that was 2 things right there. Oh, episode 7. So I'm going to be in another episode. Oh, we're going to meet my mom. Characters building. You're finding out more about Sam. And I was just over the moon about it, man. It was just, I remember, I think it was like lunch and Laura and I were sitting down eating and she just looks at me. She's like, congratulations, you, my friend, are a series regular. And I was like, what? So of course I called my agent the next day and I was like, hey, by the way, Laura says I'm a series regular. And he goes, well, that's great, but I'm your agent. Let me deal with that. But I see where she was coming from because she knew I was going to be around for a little bit because she probably had seen more of the episodes.
Mm-hmm. You're having that conversation. You're like, oh, thank you, Laura.
Should I be getting $30,000 an episode?
I know.
Cool. Okay. Let's do this.
You bring up such an interesting part of our industry, right? That is sometimes we base things on just a name, right? On the cachet of what something means. And you were a R. I mean, I don't know the billing of it. You say guest star or whatever, but you were a regular on this series. Right. And like so much so from the beginning of it. I mean, I remember those beginning episodes, but right, since it's fresh in my mind, I remember you getting arrested now later. I remember you proposing to your girlfriend and all that stuff. Right? You have been there the entire time. So you are a regular on this series. But does that, to everybody in the industry, I guess if you're not right. Yeah. If you can see if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see him looking, making the money sign, right? It's different. And it's so different. It's different. So would you like to be a series regular that gets killed off, early on, or would you like to be this person that spans the entire season where it can turn into more and more and more? Or I don't know, I don't know where to go with that question, meaning what's better here, because the agents and the managers talk is if you're not a series regular making 30, 50, whatever $1,000, then you're not really a series regular, but you were a series regular.
I was in the industry biz. I was not. I was a guest star recurring. I got top of show guest star the final season. Mm-hmm. I didn't get top of show seasons 1, 2, and 3. So I had to, work my way up. I did push for series reg in the final season. I think if the pandemic hadn't happened, there's a lot of money went into the COVID protocols. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that they would have given me a series reg contract, but I'm saying I had a better chance for sure. Because our showrunner thought I deserved it. Netflix was, Like, not this time around. So
it's also money. What we don't understand, because we're coming with our talent to the table, Kevin. Like, one of the things that I've shared to this community often is that, I did 7 seasons on Bosch, and I was not a series regular, right? For that. And we pushed for it, and Amazon was just over and over again. It's like, this is the billing. These are the people that get the series regular, and going from that. And I understood that was just a financial decision, that we as actors can't let that affect our craft decision, if it makes sense. This is our business hat, what's going on, because I was doing each season, I was doing 10 out of 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
10 out of 10 episodes, had my own storyline, solving cases on that show. And anybody looking at that, anybody on the outside looking at that would already think DaJuan's one of the series regulars of the show. Right.
Yeah.
But then behind the scenes, when you really peel back and we're talking about money, it's a different business. And, I think hopefully what I've been doing this season of the podcast is trying to dismantle some of those expectations that just aren't true in our industry. That just aren't true. Like, what it means to be a series regular. Why, does it mean we aren't good enough? Does it mean our craft? It has nothing to do with that sometimes. Sometimes they're just trying to make money, trying to make the line, what we call it, line items, for money on an episode. If they can pay you, I'm just giving you a rough number, $10,000 and not $50,000, they can get some other colorful things going on with that. You know what I mean? So it does come down to money. So I think you were a series regular. How about that, Kevin?
Well, thanks, man. Back at you. I'm sure Titus thinks the same thing.
Listen, Titus, I have to say, Titus was amazing, and he understood all the workings of that. But Titus, from the pilot, never treated me any different. There was no like, oh, this guy's just coming in as a co-star, from that pilot. And that was my journey too, by the way. Co-star. Then I got upped in season 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I did not have a recurring part on there, meaning that's not what they said on my billing at all. When I was hired as a no-name co-star.
Wow.
As a uniform officer number 1. And I asked for a name before I would take the job. And it was just doing my best work on that first pilot, man. Like, do you know what I mean? I didn't walk in thinking he's just a co-star, because I love what you said. I love what you say. And I've said this before. Maybe it was my naivete. I didn't know the difference between the billing and stuff like that. And, it was one of those things when Titus said to me, when we shot our scene, he's like, I'll see you around. I was like, yeah. But little did I know I was talking to number 1.
Yeah.
And when he said,
so you didn't know that you were coming back yet. Like,
I had no idea. I had no idea. We finished that, and it was only supposed to be that one-off. In that pilot, it was a one-off. And, the producers on that show will say, DaJuan, you acted your way into more on this show. Because my first episode, and that's what I try to tell actors, my first episode, I didn't walk in there and let me just blend in. I walked in there, I was like, I came in here to do a job. The billing, what actors get all caught up in, the billing, nobody on the other side of that screen understands about that billing. We all do behind the scenes because it's our industry, right? Mm-hmm. But when they're looking, they're like, oh, he's just that part. They are looking at you to bring it. They don't understand the difference of co-star and a co-star. Does that make sense? Like a co-star that comes in and says a line or two, or a co-star. They're like, oh, that was your co-star DaJuan, or that was your co-star Kevin. They don't get it, if that makes those words are synonymous. So I showed up. Right. And we get it. So it's very interesting to hear you say the similarities in there, the naivete, and how sometimes we just got to show up, man. We got to show up and do our job. Right.
Of course. Yeah. And you get on set and they see what you bring to the table, and they'll bring you back if they like you, man, unless they kill you off or something. Like, it's I've always like less is more, but also like when I get on set, I find it's good not to act like you haven't been there before,
Yes.
Don't be wandering off. Like, hey, where's Kevin? He's got to be on set. Be in your trailer when you need to be in your trailer. Be on set when you need to be on set. Kind of, don't be weird.
Yeah.
Be a person they want to bring back.
Yeah. And just tell people where you are. That's all I do. Anytime I'm going to the bathroom or anytime I've got to go to craft services, I just let the ADs know. I think that's it. Of course. You just let them know. Well, but a lot of people know that, right? Because you're just like, oh, I'm just wandering on set. But I want to highlight something you just said. Like, don't act like you haven't been there before. You know what I mean? Like, I believe that when you belong there, you deserve to be there. So show up and not try not to show up in this place of apologizing that, am I supposed to be here? Hi, I'm DaJuan. Hi, I'm Kevin. No, show up. You got hired for a reason. They're hiring you to do a job. Do that job. Do that job.
It's a collaborative process. It's everybody's pearl on the necklace, so to speak, you know?
Yeah. I love that. So I want to know a little bit about your mindset. Like when you, like what was going on for you inside your head, your thoughts and stuff when you had to really act opposite Jason or act opposite Laura, you know, because some people like armpit sweat going on. It's Jason Bateman, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or Laura Linney, like, and so did you have to talk yourself down, or did you have like, what was your mindset walking into those moments?
So I've always gone with the personal objectives as opposed to fictional objectives.
That's good.
Like fictional objectives can help you find out, you know, what you want in a scene, but the personal objective is always, to me, the strongest.
So what do you mean by that? The personal objective? What do you mean by that?
So like what I want from Laura instead of what I want from Wendy, or what I want from Marty, or what I want from Jason instead of what I want from Marty, kind of thing.
Okay.
And of course you don't tell your scene partner what, you know, you want from them. It's your own personal, like secret kind of thing. But if you're going after it, whatever it is, I feel like if it's personal, it's easier to stay on track and go for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So not so much of you paused all of that stuff in your head of like, this is Laura Linney, right? Like I'm showing up in a scene and I'm going to step back on my craft. What do I want from this person, meaning Wendy? What do I want in this scene? So it takes it out of I'm acting with X. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. So see if I can. So Kevin is super excited to work with Laura in the scenes. I've always been told you dance with the date that brung you. So hey, you use what that is, you know, to your advantage in the scene. Like don't shy away from it. Now don't be like a giggling schoolboy or something, you know, in the scene, because that just ain't gonna fly. But, you know, I think it makes sense for Sam, because I think Sam does see Wendy as a what kind of like he's got a mom, he's got domineering women in his life, whether it's his mom, it's Ruth, or Wendy. But I think he looks up to Wendy, even though she has her own agenda. I think he cares about Wendy, just like Kevin is super excited to work with Laura and is friends with Laura. It's easy to find something in that realm than it is the fictional realm. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. You know, and that's interesting because when we get inevitably, if you continue on in this industry, you're going to work with some of the people you've seen on TV for all your life. Like it's going to happen and they're going to be there. And, you know, what I hear you saying is I do say focus on the craft. Like you can still be this like giggling, you know, schoolboy, as you said. And you know, I did that when I met Debbie Allen, who is like Debbie freaking Allen. And I was like, and when I first started, I was just like, oh my God, I love you so much. That's what I just said. And I said, I just need to say that so we can move on and I can get to what we're doing. So I schoolboyed out and then I got to my craft.
Dude, that's like me when I get to work with Jessica Chastain. She's one of my favorites. Probably my I want to say she's my favorite probably right now. And yeah, it would be a dream come true to get to work with her.
When you're going to work with her.
Yeah.
I think I knew that already for some reason, but I was like, oh yeah, I think I saw him on Twitter. Maybe you like retweeted something she said or did you put her?
Well, it was her birthday yesterday. So I wished her a happy birthday. Yeah. A phenomenal powerhouse. Yeah.
Yeah. You're showing your hand there. We see the. I love that. Well, when you listen, I just like Bosch had to end, you know, and I had to end, but it's ending. Ozark is ending. You know, we're getting ready to see the last little bit of it. What do you think, or better question, what nugget or what shift are you walking out of this experience with in your career, I should say? Let me add that. Like, how is it? Are you walking different because of it? Are you a better, different actor? Like, let's just see, what kind of shift are you walking out of this experience with?
Well, it was definitely an amazing experience for 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm being honest, there's a little anxiety knowing, because you always knew each season that Ozark, or in your case, Bosch, was going to be there. Yeah. It was going to be the money. You're going to get some money coming in some point during the next year. Mm-hmm. So to know that Ozark is done, you got to look for that next gig. And, mm-hmm. I would love to be a series reg. That's one of my goals this year, is to book my first series reg.
Entitled too, right.
Absolutely.
Not just honorary, not just an honorary.
Yeah. So yeah, if I'm being honest, a little anxious, and I thought that doors were gonna just kind of blow right open mm-hmm. for me after Ozark. And it hasn't quite happened yet. And it's just it's something you just got to realize. It takes time. Mm-hmm. Because I've been talking to my manager, because I've been trying to get an agent mm-hmm. out in LA. I don't have an agent. I did have an agent out in LA.
You don't live in LA?
I don't. I live in Atlanta.
That's right. I know you said you auditioned there, but you're still there. Keep going. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So we tried to sign with, Paradigm, Buckwald, APA, UTA, the top tier, minus CAA, ICM, mm-hmm. and William & Morris, of course. Mm-hmm. And they didn't, even after 4 seasons deep on Ozark, mm-hmm. they were like, yeah, he's good. We like his stuff, but we just don't have a spot for him right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a little frustrating if I'm being totally honest. But I think I'll get with that agent at some point. Mm-hmm. Hopefully this year. I think so. So yeah, man, you just you can't expect, even if you're on a hit show for like 4 seasons, that it's just going to change everything, because it's not a science. Mm-hmm. You do you do your part, and you can't control the other things, whether you want to or not. It's just it's not in your it's not something it's not in your control. So why I always go back to Bryan Cranston's quote when he was doing like a Q&A. He was getting an audition is the job. I'm paraphrasing this, obviously, but
Brian's going to be so mad. Brian, I mean, Kevin, you're like effing this up.
But yeah, like getting the audition, doing the audition is the job. Mm-hmm. Getting the part is like the cherry on top. But like, you're basically giving them an option. Like, hey, this is what I bring to the table. If you like it, awesome. I'm here. Give me a call. And that's all we can do.
I think your willingness to be so open about this experience, I think, is key, because it helps other actors not feel so alone and isolated. That's one of the things that we talk about on the Think Bigger Actors podcast so much, is just that, I thought so too. 7 seasons on a show, I expected people to be knocking down the door to say like, yes, DaJuan, we've been waiting for you to be off the show so that you can, right. Get that. Yeah. I thought it was going to be a little bit different when they did the Emmy campaign for Grey's Anatomy. Like, do you know what I mean? I feel like those things were starters, and you always feel like, oh, because what we're told is this is how it's happening for everybody else. Right there, but there might have some little bit of jog time. And so I appreciate, and I my hat off to you, respect that you're saying like, great, even though I was on these shows, we tried to go for those agents. We tried to go for X, and it didn't happen.
And I have friends with those agencies, like Michael Mosley, Tom Pelphrey. I mean, they were on Ozark, and they were like, yeah, absolutely. The Gersh will be, I think why wouldn't they be interested in you?
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, of course. That no.
What do you mean no? Right? It's like, haven't you seen it? It's like one of the biggest shows. That's important to say, because while we're out here doing wonderful in our craft and our career, we're going to hear no's still, right? And it's also, what did you do with those no's? I'm curious, because it doesn't seem like it broke your spirit.
No. I mean, I still try to stay positive, meditation, all the things that we do as actors. You try to get your mind off the business. I mean, I've always been told, find something else you love in this world besides the business. So I'm still working on that, but you have to be able to separate yourself from the business, because if you don't, it'll eat you alive
and spit you out. Like, I mean, it'll chew you up and spit you out. I think one of the questions that we get too, that there's an expectation on that line, is that the one job will lead to the next, but that's what we're hoping. But it kind of did in your case, right? I think I heard or read somewhere that you are going to be working with Jason again in his. I think he's executive producing it, but but that's still working with him in a way,
Oh yeah,
Florida Man.
Yeah, Ozark has definitely opened up more doors. And when I worked on Florida Man, they were happy to have me because they knew me from Ozark. And yeah, it's funny because like I've had audition. It was like a couple of weeks ago, I had a Blue Bloods like Zoom call, straight to producers, no tape, just straight to producers. Did a good audition. They loved it. And before I did the audition, the showrunners, producers were on the call. And all of a sudden I hear, all right, no Ozark spoilers. So I was like, okay, so yeah, that means I got this job. That means I'm going to book this, right? Of course.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And it like one of the funniest things is a couple of years ago, I was auditioning in person for a show, and the director was a huge fan of Ozark and was like, hey, can I get a picture with you? And I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely going to book this show then. Like, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. It's they're nice.
What if he called you in only for the picture? He called you in for the picture.
They're very flattering, but they don't turn into jobs sometimes.
Yeah. Kevin, something you said just like hit me like a lightning bolt. You said that Ozark definitely opened doors for you. But I was thinking in that moment, of course it did, and it would. We just have to sometimes reconcile that it might have not opened the doors the way I wanted them to open.
Or it didn't open them to like offers,
right.
Like, in my head at first I was like, oh, I'm going to get offers on this.
So it didn't open the doors to your expectation.
Yeah.
Right. Do you know what I mean? Because it is opening doors, right? When we are seeing it. And sometimes if we are not just sitting back and aware of that, we can miss that it did open other doors, but my doors of expectation didn't open yet.
Right. Exactly.
But that does not mean those other doors won't lead to your door of expectation down there. Wow, that's good. Kevin's like, you got all that from that? I know. No, because it's listen, we're all the same, right? If we sit in that space of I'm looking at you and it's like a mirror, and I'm like, I had doors of expectation that didn't open as well. Right. And I'm like, I was just at the Artios Awards, which are the casting director awards,
Oh, cool.
I was just there a couple of nights ago. And I walked into a room of casting directors, and a lot of them were like, DaJuan. And I was like, hi. Right. And I didn't know them. And I was like, blah, blah, blah. And I thought to myself, oh, that's your job. You do know me. You might not have something for me, but those doors of people that know me, they have been open because I've been on a show. Right.
Oh yeah. All those casting directors know you.
Right. They know us. We can say, you can jump in there.
Yeah. They know us. But they're so good at their job that they know who they want to see for certain roles. And we don't know what parameters they're given. So of course your mind wanders like, oh, why didn't I get an audition for this? It's hard. Like I'll watch shows differently now. I watch shows because I love watching shows, but I'll also watch them and be like, I wonder if I could have auditioned for that role. Yeah. Or I'll watch a show that I really love, like The Handmaid's Tale, and I'll be like, okay, that was a great season. I didn't see anything that I could have played in that season. Totally understandable.
Yeah.
Got it. But when you see those roles and you're like, man, but I know my agent, and if your agent or your manager is a good agent and manager, you know, they submitted you for those roles, and I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
But you don't know the parameters and how many people that those casting directors were allowed to see, and did they run out of slots? Because I mean, I've been told that you know, casting directors only have so many slots, so they go to, you know, the people they know the most. Yeah. And by the time they get to your headshot and resume, maybe they don't have any. I'm like,
yeah,
we're out of spots. We can't read 100 people, you know.
I love that.
I would think casting wouldn't, Sharon Bialy and Sherry Thomas wouldn't be seeing like 100 people for a role. Like that would just be, that's a ton of people, right?
It is a ton of people, but you know, I was watching this thing where Steven Spielberg and those casting directors not West Side Story or Into Heights. I'm mixing it up in my head. They saw like 32,000 tapes.
Wow.
To get to a Rachel Ziegler. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's 32,000. Right? That's how they had to get through. And that is a ton of tapes for that. But yeah. I got to tell you, this opening of the doors and versus the opening the door of expectation, that's going to sit with me for a while, Kevin. And that is so beautiful. Like, you know, and we must be careful that our door of expectation that's closed and we keep beating on that door of expectation, that we aren't missing all these open doors around us that could definitely be leading down the same path, you know, or down, it might take a couple steps. That is just beautiful. That's beautiful. I got chills thinking about what you said, man.
and always, like, you probably know, like, keeping connections with people you've worked with. I mean, because if they loved working with you, there's going to be something. Yeah. Because they're like, Bosch isn't going to be the last thing they do.
Right.
So
it is not.
You know, and Ozark's not going to be the last thing Chris Mundy does, our showrunner. And he loved working with me. And before he did Ozark, he did a great show, Bloodline. I love Bloodline.
Yeah. What was Bloodline? It was in Key West? The show in Key West? No, with
I think it was in Florida, right?
Yeah, Key West.
Yeah.
Oh, Key West and
with Kyle Chandler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I loved that show. It was a really good show. That was a good one there.
Yeah.
So. Yes. And oh God, anyway, I would be remiss if I didn't touch on, really, because my mind is blown because I didn't put it together. You're in Atlanta. Look how actor egocentric I am. I'm like, everybody lives in New York or LA, but in Atlanta, I know, right? DaJuan, you know, I guess I want to ask this with total respect. So please take it like that. Like, what's it like acting outside of the big cities? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what's it like? You know, how do you stay connected to your craft in these towns that are not always jiving about the industry, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Is that a fair question? I think I just want to.
Well, Atlanta has been a pretty big hub for about 10 years now, probably. I always say, you know, it's an exaggeration, but anything you're watching on TV is probably shot in Atlanta. You know, Walking Dead, Ozark,
or in Vancouver.
Yeah. Vancouver's a great spot too. I would love to work in Vancouver.
Me too. I'll see you there.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of actors here in Atlanta. So all the actors pretty much know each other just about. Like, it's a tight knit group. And it's not as I've never lived in LA. I've been out to LA and I've been to New York, but I gotta think it's probably a little more cutthroat in those markets because they're so well known for the entertainment business. That if you live out in LA, then you're either actor, writer, director, musician. Like, those are the things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, is it cutthroat in LA and New York? Like, I mean,
yeah.
Or do people actually cheer for people? Like Bryan Cranston says, like, it's okay to be happy when other people, you know.
I think there's been a big shift.
Are your friends?
Yeah, I think there's a big shift, Kevin. Like, of that. I think when you come out in like you're developing talent or you're newer talent, what you think is when you're in those audition spaces that everybody's your competition, right? And what you find is your biggest competition is just you and your mindset and going in there. So when you go in there, you understand that they're going to align with what I'm, putting out there, or they're going to align with somebody else. And it does not have to be a zero-sum world. But I think when we're coming out of, theater schools, or we're coming out of, those conservatories and things like that, it makes it feel a little bit more everybody's your competition. And I have to get my way to the top. I don't think it's that space anymore. I had one of my friends on the podcast who we always used to be in those audition rooms together. The waiting rooms together, and it's like, oh, here comes DaJuan, or he's gonna get it. But that space, it turned into, if I don't get it, I hope you get it, man. It's so good to see you here. Let's talk. Yeah. So I think it's a shift out of that, and that is an old, expired paradigm within our industry, where we have to think that these people are our competitors, or it could be like you said in the beginning. Oh, cool, that older guy got it, great. I hope it's going to bless him in so many different ways, And then I guess I secretly feel like you popped his tires. So you got it? He couldn't make it.
He couldn't make it.
Kevin, you got this sweet demeanor. You're like, but I got him. That is funny, man. It's not as cutthroat as it is, but I just want to say, Kevin, I could talk to you all day, man. I think you're so easy to talk to, and
you too,
it is lovely hearing about the work that you have, put in and done on sets, and opposite Jason and Laura. I think all that is such good talk. I think I just want to leave us with, as we shift down and land this plane. What do you do in those quiet parts of your career when it's not so set heavy? When it's not so audition heavy, what do you do to keep yourself motivated and going?
It's a good question. Hang out with friends, whether that's go to the park, go to the bar, go to the gym. I work out. I do CrossFit, so that keeps me busy. Watch a lot of TV. Can't help it. Just so much good content. And you just got to be kind to yourself, because you don't know when that next thing is coming, but it's coming. You just don't know when. So be kind to yourself is what I always like to say.
I can get behind that, man. Thank you so much for being here, Kevin. Appreciate you.
Thanks, man.
It's hard to believe that Ozark is over. I mean, good Lord, that show gave me so much anxiety watching. I mean, and this last split season was no exception. But it just was good TV. It was good writing, good acting. I just loved it. I loved it. So many great nuggets in what Kevin said. I know you agree. I know you feel me. You're my people. I mean, you can Ozark can be one of literally the most watched television shows out there, streaming, streaming is TV now, and then it goes away, and that's just a little upsetting. So, but here's your D12 shot, and my favorite aha moment about this episode. Doors were opened. And they just might not be the doors of expectation. Doors of expectation. When we talked about that with Kevin, so many ahas went off for me. So often in this industry, we are so stuck on the linear moves. And why wouldn't we be? It's the quickest way our minds can compute progress, success through those wins, right? But this is not a linear business. Our minds, the people in our circles, the dear actor friends we compare ourselves to, we allow ourselves to be tricked into thinking that there has been no progress. There's been no progress if it does not reveal itself just as we expected. If we do not leave one job and immediately be offered our next, if we do not finish one booking and our next be offered the next billing up, the next co-star, the guest star, the series regular, and on, to be offer only, we think it's a failure. We think this career we should just give up, that it's not working in our favor. It's funny because we'll sit there and we'll tell our friends when they're struggling the best advice ever. Hang in there, we'll say. This career isn't a linear business. We will say that to them, but then we drag ourselves mentally when the doors of expectation aren't open. When we do that, when we miss all the other doors that have opened, when we miss it, when we drag ourselves mentally, we miss all the other doors that have opened because of that booking, because of that win, because of that callback, because of that amazing self-tape that didn't book this time. What we do is we reduce our career down to only what we can see. Here's the trick. The trick is to learn how to quantify success differently, how to rig the mental system in this industry in our favor. You got an audition? Win. You got a callback in by a CD who you haven't seen in a year? Win. A director that you worked with 5 years ago says he wrote something for you and he wants you to be in it. Win. All things are working out for your greater good, and they are truly unfolding just the way they are supposed to. But are you willing to see it? That way? Another one of those things I'm talking to myself, y'all. Talking to myself. Good stuff. What was your favorite takeaway? And you know I want to hear from you. I always love hearing from my tribe. Tag me in a story on Instagram. Pop it into my DMs and let me know. And please share this freaking podcast. You really help, help me get the word out there and expand my reach. I love it. All right, till next time, I'll see you on the Instawebs and all that stuff like that. But just remember those doors of expectations. So many other doors are open, but are we willing to see it? That's a running theme this season on the podcast. A running theme. Okay, I'll see you next time.